Hi lovelies, welcome back again to the channel. Thank you so much for all your support. May the Lord continue to bless you all. Amen. If you are new to the channel, you are highly welcome. My name is Chisom Ene. In this channel, I teach about hair growth and fashion tutorials. Please subscribe to join this family and turn the notification bell on so you'll be notified anytime I upload a new video. Thank you so much. Today's tutorial is going to be on how to cut or draft a corset bustier. So corset drafting is actually very simple. I'm going to explain it in such a way that at the end of this tutorial, you should be able to make a corset bustier pattern, even if you are a beginner. Alright? So please relax and watch the video to the end to understand better. So with that being said, let's get started. I'm going to be drafting this corset pattern using 3 steps. Step 1 will be to draft the basic bodies. Step 2 will be to draft a straight line bustier, because corset is created from a straight line bustier. And step 3 will be to draft the corset bustier proper. Alright, I'll be making use of this pattern paper for this tutorial so that it will be easy for us to add all our allowances without wasting much materials. So I'm going to start with step 1 to draft the basic bodies. I'm going to measure 1 inch here and mark that place as my starting point, which is also my shoulder line. 1 inch. I'm going to draw a line. So this is also my shoulder line. So I'm going to measure my shoulder from here. My shoulder is 16. 16 divided by 2 will give me 8. Then I mark. I'll measure my neck width of 3.5 standard. I'm going to add my shoulder slope of 1 inch and mark. The reason why I'm adding shoulder slope is because our shoulders are not straight. So I'm going to connect it to the neck width like so. Next, I'm going to add my shoulder allowance of 1/2 inch. And connect it. So from this shoulder allowance, I'm going to measure my armhole depth. My armhole depth is 8 inches. The formula for you to get your armhole depth is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5. Whatever you have will be your armhole depth. So my armhole depth is 8 inches. Then I'll mark. This is my 8 inches here. So I'm going to connect the line. So for me to create my armhole curve, I'm going to measure my bust circumference. My bust circumference is 38. 38 divided by 4 will give me 9.5. Then I mark. So I'm going to connect it. So to create the armhole curve, I'm going to measure my armhole depth and divide by 2 to get the midpoint. My armhole depth is 8. 8 divided by 2 will give me 4. So this 4 is the midpoint. I'm going to go inward by 1/2 inch. Like so. This is my 1/2 inch inward, so that I'll be able to draw my curve. So from this 1/2 inch, I'm going to connect to this bust circumference. It's a curve. And then I'll take it to the shoulder as well. So now we have our armhole curve. The next thing we are going to do is to add our vertical measurements. Our vertical measurements are measurement from shoulder to bust point, to under bust, to waist, and to hip. So from shoulder, I will measure my bust point. My bust point is 10, then I mark. Under bust 13, waist 18, and my hip 24, which is the length of the top. I'll be adding 1 inch allowance, making it 25. All right, so I'm going to rule out the lines. So here I have my bust point, my under bust, my waist, and my hip, which is the length. So the next thing I'll do is to add my neckline. So I've already measured my neck width of 3.5. I'm going to come here and measure neck depth of 3.5. Then I'm going to make a round neck. Having done that, the next thing I'm going to do is to add our horizontal measurements, which is my bust circumference, waist, under bust circumference, waist circumference, and hip circumference. So my bust circumference is 38. 38 divided by 4 will give me 9.5. My under bust circumference is 34. Divided by 4 will give me 8.5. Then I mark. My waist circumference is 37. 37 divided by 4 will give me 9.25. Then I mark. And my hip circumference is 43. 43 divided by 4 will give me 10.75. So I'm going to connect the lines. So this is my basic bodice. We're going to proceed to step 2, which is to draft a straight line bustier or straight line dart. So for us to do that, from the shoulder I'm going to measure neck depth of 6 inches here and mark. If you want the neck to be lower than 6 inches, you can make your own 7 inches or 8 inches or 6.5. So here it depends on what you want. Alright, so for me, I'm making use of neck depth of 6 inches. So I'm going to draw a line, and then this will be my neckline. So yeah, this is my neckline. The next thing I'm going to do is to measure my bust span. My bust span is the distance from one bust to the other, or you call it the nipple to nipple. Alright, so that is my bust span. So to get my bust span is 7 inches. 7 divided by 2, because this paper is on fold, so I'm going to divide the 7 inches by 2. 7 divided by 2 will give me 3.5, and I'll be adding ½ inch for sewing allowance, making it 4 inches. So my bust span is 4 inches. I'll come to the bust point and I'll measure my bust span 4 inches and mark. Okay, my under bust 4 inches. I'm going to measure the 4 inches down. To the neckline, I'll also measure 4 inches and mark. So I'm going to connect the lines, the straight line. Yeah, having gotten our straight line, the next thing I'm going to do is to come to the to the under bust. This is the under bust line. I'll come to the under bust. At this side, I'm going to measure 1 inch, and also measure 1 inch at this side as well. You can measure 1 inch or 1.5 inches this side, depending on how busty you are or the person you are making clothes for is. So I'm going to connect from this 1 inch to the bust point with a curve, and connect this 1 inch to the bust point with a curve also. If you have your curve ruler, you make use of it. I'm going to make use of my free hand for this curve. I'll do the same thing on the neckline. 1 inch at this side and 1 inch at this side too. So from here, I'll connect to the bust point with a curve, and from here I'll connect to the bust point with a curve as well. So the next thing I'm going to do is to extend this line down. You're going to extend that line down. Okay? So here I'll measure 1 inch and then 1 inch at the waistline. Measure 1 inch here and 1 inch here. So this is our straight line bustier. If you just extend this line upwards, you have your normal straight line bustier. I hope you understand. The next thing we are going to do is to proceed to step 3. So guys, when you turn this straight line bustier into a cup form, you have a corset bustier. That was why I said that corset bustier is gotten from the straight line bustier. So now we are going to make a breast cups on this bustier to get our corset. As simple as that. So step 3 is to create our cups, because we are going to be making 2 cups, not 1. So to create the cups, I'm going to start by adding my cup separation first at the center here. Alright? The space in between the 2 cups, as you can see in this picture, is called the cup separation. So I'll make use of 1 inch for my cup separation, and because the paper is on fold, I'll divide that 1 inch by 2 to get 0.5 inch. Alright, but for smaller bust, you can decide to make use of 1.5 inches cup separation, and then you divide it by 2. Alright, so I'm going to start by adding my cup separation here. So 1 divided by 2 will give me 0.5. So I'll simply come to this place and measure my 0.5 inch and mark. So here, this is my 0.5 inch. I'm going to connect this 0.5 inch down to the bust point, like so. So this is my cup separation. So from this 0.5 inch at the bust point, I'm going to connect to the under bust here. Connect that with a curve. Alright, so if you have your curve ruler, you make use of the curve ruler to connect it. But if you don't have, you can make use of your free hand. I'll make use of my free hand to connect it. So this is our curve for this side. Alright, so next I'm going to add my neck shape here. So the shape we are going to add here is going to depend on the type of neckline you want. I hope you understand. So if you want a 4-corner neckline, you are going to leave this this line straight like so. And after sewing the 4-corner corset top, it will look like this. Alright? But for V-neck shape, if you want to make a V-neck shape, you will come down like so. From this neckline, we are going to come down by 1 inch or more, depending on how low you want the neckline to be. So from this 1 inch, we are going to connect to this place with a straight line, a slanted straight line like this. Alright? So after which you are going to extend the line to the cup separation like so. I hope it's clear. And after sewing the corset top, it will look like this. Alright? So all these things depends on what you want. I'm going to be making a sweetheart neck shape. So for that reason, I'm going to come down from this neckline. I'm going to come down by 1 inch and mark. So I'm going to come down by 1 inch from here and mark. So remember, this from shoulder to this line is 6 inches. So plus this 1 inch here is going to be 7 inches neck depth. So it's just the moderate one. If you make use of 7 inches neck depth, it's not going to reveal anything. Okay, so this is the moderate one. So I'll mark my 1 inch here. And because I'm making a sweetheart neckline, I'm going to connect to this point with a curve, alright? So I'm going to connect like so. So from this point, I'm going to extend the line to my cup separation, like so. So this is what we have, our sweetheart neck shape. Alright? So we are through with this side. So coming to this side, to achieve our curve at this point is very simple. All I will do is to come to the bust point. This is my bust point line, and then I'm going to measure the distance from the bust point to the under bust, and here I have 3 inches. So I'm going to come to this place, to this side of the bust, and measure 3 inches. But because the bust is fuller at the side, I'll be adding extra ½ inch to the 3 inches, making it 3.5 inches. Okay? So for someone with a bigger bust, we are going to add extra 1 inch at this side. I hope you understand. So I'm going to measure my 3.5 inches here and mark. So here I have my 3.5 inches at the bust point. So from this 3.5 inches, I'm going to connect to meet this point at the under bust. I'm going to connect with a curve. So the next thing I will do is to extend this line to this armhole line here. I'll extend it like so. And then I'm going to connect from this neckline to meet this one. So I'm going to connect from here to here with a curve as well. So our cup is completely formed. The next thing we are going to do is to add our sewing allowances. You know, I did not add any sewing allowances to the basic bodice. So now I'm going to add our sewing allowances plus all these dart allowances here. Okay, I'm going to replace these 2 inches at the armhole line, and then I'll add extra 2 inches sewing allowance, making it 4 inches. So I'll extend the line. So the same thing on the bust point, 4 inches. So at the under bust, I'll add these 2 inches plus extra sewing 2 inches sewing allowance, making it 4 inches as well. So on the waistline, I'll add 4 inches, and at the hip line, I'll add 4 inches. So I'm going to connect the lines. So guys, now we have our corset bustier. We are going to cut out the cups, sew it separately, and attach it back to the basic bodice. Okay, that is the major difference between the corset bustier and the other normal bustier. All right, so that way it is going to give the bust a good fitting. Secondly, you don't need to wear a bra together with the corset top. I hope you understand. If you are making this corset in a tube form like this one, you are going to cut this pattern like so. You cut it like this, all right, and then you keep this one and then you sew from this one down. If you are making it in tube form, I hope you understand. And if you are going to sew the corset as a normal top, that is together with the shoulder, you are going to still cut from this place off. You are going to cut out this one so that you'll be able to cut out your cups. Later you are going to replace it back to complete the normal top. All right, so because you are going to cut out this point and then replace it back later, this place is called a yoke. So here you have the option of attaching any material of your choice here. It could be a net material, a lace, or the same material you are working with. And if you are making this in form of a normal top together with the yoke like this, you are going to have two necklines. This one will be the first neckline, and then this one will be the second neckline, and then this one is the major corset neckline. All right, so the dress is going to look like this. So next thing we are going to do is to draft the back pattern. After drafting the back pattern, we are going to cut it out. Okay, so to draft the back side of the corset, I'm going to place my pattern paper like so. I'll place it like so to extend all my vertical lines in order for us to save time. All right, so I'm going to extend the lines. This is my armhole line. So I'm going to label it my bust point, my under bust, waist, and then hip. So I'm going to measure my zipper allowance here. So I'll measure my zip allowance of 2 inches. So I'm going to connect the line. So the next thing I'll do is to measure my shoulder. My shoulder is 16 divided by 2 is 8. Then I'll mark. My neck width is 3.5. So I'm going to come down by 1 inch shoulder slope. Then I'll connect to the neck width. So from this point, I'm going to measure my shoulder allowance of 1/2 inch. And also connect it. So from this shoulder allowance, I'll measure my armhole depth. So which is this line. This is my armhole depth. I'm going to connect the line. So we are going to create our armhole curve. To create our curve, I'll measure my armhole depth 8 inches divided by 2. 8 divided by 2 give me 4. And then because this is the back side, I will not go in by 1/2 inch. I'm just going to connect with a curve. For us to do that, I'm going to measure my bust circumference and divide by 4. My bust circumference is 38 divided by 4 will give me 9.5. Then I mark. So from here, I'm going to draw my curve to meet the bust circumference. So now we have our armhole curve for the back side. I'm going to add my horizontal measurement. At the bust point, I'm going to measure my bust circumference, which is 38 divided by 4 will give me 9.5. So at my underbust is 34 divided by 4 will give me 8.5. Then I mark. Then at the waist side, my waist is 37 divided by 4 will give me 9.25. Then I mark. So my hip line, my hip is 43 divided by 4 will give me 10.75. Then I mark. So I'll connect the lines. So the next thing we are going to do is to draft my dart at the back side. And to do that, I'm going to measure my bust span 4 inches. At the bust point, I'll measure my bust span of 4 inches and mark. At the under bust, at the waist, and at the hip. So next, I'm going to create our normal dart at the back side. So for us to do that, I'll come to the waistline and measure 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch on this side and 1/2 inch on this side. So I'm going to connect it to the hip line like so, and I connect this one again to the hip line. Then I'll connect this to meet the bust point. So this is my dart for the back side. Then coming to the zip line, I'm going to remove the bulge that we normally see at the zip side. What I mean is, if you want your zip to lap very well, we are going to do this to remove the bulge at the back side. So at the zip side, I'm going to measure 1/2 inch here, and then I'll connect to the hip line like so, and connect to the bust line. I'll come to this line again and measure 1/2 inch as well, inward, and mark. So from here, I'm going to connect it to to the hip like this. If you have a curve ruler, you can make use of it. If not, you can still make use of this ruler. This will remove the bulge at the back side so that your zip will relax very well. I'm trying to blend it into a curve shape. So this is our new zip allowance. So I'm going to cut like this and no longer straight. So the next thing we are going to do is to add our allowances. So I'll be adding 2 inches allowance at the bust point and at the armhole point. I'm going to measure what I have here. What I have here is ½ inch. ½ inch, I'm going to replace it here. So what I mark here is 2.5. Then to the waist, I'm going to measure here. What I have here is 1 inch. So I'm going to measure 3 inches as my allowance here and mark. So on the hip side, I'm going to add 2 inches allowance. So I'll connect the lines. So coming to this neckline, in case you are going to add this as your yoke, I'm going to add my neck depth of 1 inch. So I already measured my neck width, so I'm going to connect. I'm going to draw my curve. Then I'll extend it to the zip allowance. If you don't want your neck shape at the back side to be straight, if you don't want it straight, you can make any shape of your choice here, any neck shape of your choice, okay? And if you don't want it at this 8 inches, you can take it down maybe to 9 inches or 8.5. all right? The neck shape at this point is going to depend on what you want, but for me, I'm going to leave it straight. All right, so we are going to label this place the yoke. I'm going to label this place zipper allowance. I'm going to cut it out now. So I'll cut like this. So if you are making this corset in tube form, you are going to sew from here down, and then you keep this one. But if you are going to make it together as your yoke, then you now attach it back like so. I'm going to cut the front side. So before I cut the cups out, I'm going to label it. This place, I'm going to label it as the center, and then I'll label here as the side, S, C, and S, so that when we are cutting it out, we won't make any mistake. And then I'll label this side again. This is C and this is S. Okay, so I'm going to cut it. going to label here C, and then label here S, so that you will not mix it up. So this is what I have. This is how the center will look like. So I'm going to pin it together so that we appreciate what we have. Okay? So I'll be pinning the center and the side together, like so. So I'm going to pin like this, or pin like this. So guys, this is our cup, and then all together we have our corset top, or corset bustier. All right, so try it out and let me know your results in the comment section. And please, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share to others. You may be helping someone. All right, and if you have any question, please leave it in the comment section. I will attend to it. All right, so thank you so much for watching. Till next time, for now, it is bye bye.